In terms of segments and TV shows in Puerto Rico, you, as far as we know, we interviewed an Exotico or El Paparazzi, and he mentioned that you were the person responsible for creating La Familia del Milenio at one point, and what we knew was, their TV segment. How do you manage to put all those people together in one same group and make it work? Because yes, they were good, but they weren't, the top notch at that time. So do you saw potential in that group? How do you manage to make it work?
Well, a lot of people have asked me, you didn't speak Spanish. I said, no. And I still don't speak Spanish more now than I did then. I still don't speak it. But the thing I always say about Puerto Rico was a great area for wrestling. Always has been, except after the Boozer Brody years when the people just said, they just had a bad feeling about it. But this is what I always worked when I booked a territory. I didn't necessarily book angles per se, but I booked stuff that appealed to the heart. I don't care if you speak Zambodian, or if you speak Russian or Chinese or Spanish or English. If you touch them here in the heart, you got them. And the heart is the same the world over. You tell a good story and they'll follow. See, my stories had starts and they had middles, but they really didn't have ends because I always left the ends open in case I wanted to go back to it. So, and what I was thinking about before I did this interview today, I don't think the Puerto Rican wrestling fans realized how much of a force they've been on the wrestling profession as a whole. Because I was here right at the start of the 80s and it was just sellout business. But it was new. It was new then. Because then you had all your American guys and the company was basically new. When I came down here, the first time I came here, I thought the company had been in business like 10 years or something. I didn't know, 20. Then I got here and found out they'd only been in business like 2 or 3 years. So I went, wow, what did I get myself into? I mean, you need to know more than that before you commit yourself to a job or to a territory. But the business was red hot. And I came in with Frankie Lane, and I didn't even know Frankie before we got here. And I may have started to tell this story back on the part that you showed earlier. But the first day I got there was January the 5th, which is the day before January the 6th. And I remember I did say this, and I'm thinking, why all this traffic in the middle of the week? What's going on down there? I knew it was a tourist resort, but I said, it's not that strong. So then I got down and I found out it was like the second Christmas. It was Three Kings Day. And we went to what's the big building called? Roberto Clemente?
The Roberto Clemente Stadium, yep.
Yep. Went to sold out, packed. And that's where I got my first touch of how anxious and dedicated that the Puerto Rican fans were. I mean, we got in the ring and they didn't know us from Adam's house cat. But it's like we'd been there for about 6 months. It was just they booed us up and down. So we had that match and came out of the ring. And I remember Carlos wanted to come down to the office and talk to him about what we wanted to do. And I had I'd never been asked that before. See, Puerto Rico was my first opportunity to be used as a main event. Well, I was in Tennessee and I was used as the main event, but as a babyface, as a good guy. So I went down there as a heel, and I told Carlos we'd like to do the $1,000 challenge match, and he threw his 2 cents in, and then I threw my 2 cents in. So we started that, and I think it ended up is that any team that we couldn't beat within 10 minutes, we could give them $1,000 silver dollars. And Carlos said, well, they don't have silver dollars here, but we'll get some, and they did. And we ended up going from there. I think about May, maybe the end of April, start of May, we shot this big angle and we went outside 9 times and we sold out 9 times in a row on Saturday night. And it's never been done before. And I doubt it ever will be, it'll be done today because, But I think the Puerto Rican people, fans, should be proud that their home territory was actually had a lot to do with the overall wrestling business and what they saw in the 80s. And then what they saw when I took back over in 2001, 2002 or 2000, it was like, we got ratings that were primetime ratings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with the IWA. And somebody asked me, how did you get from IWA, from Carlos's WWC to IWA? And it was money, basically, it's a profession. That's why you get paid. And I had asked for more money and was kind of denied. And I'm thinking, well, we're doing this good business and plus the ratings. And I didn't know at the time that they were actually sharing the money, as I understand it. They were sharing their ad money with the WWC office. They never told me that, because when you have an hour and a half, that's what it was then, an hour and a half of wrestling, 2 days of the week, Saturday and Sunday. And that brings me to the Millennium, Café Del Milenio.
Café Del Milenio.
So I went to Carlos and I said, hey, why don't we do a separate show, and a 30-minute show that just features the heels? And we can go on like 11 o'clock at night. And then we'll do this crazy thing. And we don't have any baby faces to rebut us. We just tell lies and do whatever we do. So Carlos said, I got a better idea, of course. So I said, he went to them and presented it, but he said, their idea is, why don't we just incorporate it and make it a 2-hour show instead of an hour and a half? I says, well, that was the TV's decision. And I said, okay. And we started with Milenio Cafe. What was it?
El Café del Milenio.
Oh yeah. And it was just like friends. We was like in this little bar and we were talking this and that and the other. And, I guess it was pretty interesting. Exotico was great. He was just hilarious. Even when he'd have his matches, nobody took him seriously, but he was so entertaining. You had to keep him on the show. And Ray was good. And who else was in that Café Del Milenio? Was it Jose Rivera Jr.? Wasn't he in it? Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat that again?
No, who was in All In Café Del Milenio? Jose.
You had Ray Gonzalez over there. You have Chiqui Star. You have El Exótico, who was El Paparazzi as well. There were a few guys over there. Yeah.
Jose. What was his name? Jose who?
I think
his father.
Estrada, Rico Suave. You're mentioning.
Rico Suave.
Yeah. Julio Estrada.
And but it did well. We were doing primetime ratings and the business was good. And so, and the fans, to me, I booked Puerto Rico because I didn't book it. You remember DX, right? When they go, suck it.
Yeah.
Well, see, we didn't do any of that stuff because I thought I didn't want to do it for kids. But see, if you don't draw the kids, you're not going to draw anybody. So we made it, I always made my angles so clear, I think, I tried to anyway, that even a 10-year-old kid could understand it. And if a 10-year-old kid can understand it and explain it to somebody else, then everybody understands it. And I remember one year down there, Dave Meltzer awarded me, this is about 2001, I think. He awarded me Booker of the Year. He didn't really like me, but he had no choice because the country only had 2 companies then. They had WWC and WWE. But he said one time, it takes Dutch so long to shoot the angle. And what I wanted to tell him was, look, we're selling out already. Why would I shoot an angle when I can just take my time and kind of mold and shape what I want it to turn out like? But he didn't understand that. But and I always worked under the thought Don't go too far in an angle that you can't stop and come back a little bit. And the reason I did that is, sometimes angles just don't work. One guy gets hurt, one guy leaves, one guy gets mad. So if you got to back it up, it's not like you're responding solely to that. It's like you planned it the whole time. But they were very receptive to almost everything I did. And one of the easiest crowds to work in front of. Easy. You just go out there and stand there. Ray used to do it. He'd go to the ring and he'd just stand there and look at them. And they go nuts. So, but I enjoyed my time in Puerto Rico, except for the times that the people actually wanted to kill me. I didn't really enjoy those times too much. But it was a good learning experience for me. And I think a lot of guys, I gave them a chance who hadn't been given a chance before.